The following portion of Bloom is sponsored by Lifeguard Imaging.
Coming up on Bloom, we are Florida Strong, and Bloom wants to recognize just some of the people helping those devastated by Hurricane Ian. From Soul Relief volunteer pilots flying in hundreds of pounds of supplies, to you helping WFLA and the American Red Cross raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's time to rebuild and heal. Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, starts now. I'm Gayle Guyardo. Welcome to Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, Tampa Bay's only TV show dedicated to health and lifestyle. Get ready to bloom. There is no doubt we are Florida Strong. Support for those devastated by Hurricane Ian continues to pour in. Our Channel 8 viewers helped WFLA and the Red Cross make it well past the goal of raising $300,000 to help raise residents who lost their homes when Hurricane Ian tore through Southwest Florida. And after our parent company, Nexstar, presented an extra $25,000, we are now near the $350,000 mark. And volunteer pilots from Soul Relief, headquartered at St. Petersburg's airport, are making dozens of round-trip flights to West Central Florida. So far, they have delivered more than 800 pounds of specifically requested donations. Teams fixed the fuel pump at Arcadia Airport and transported food from restaurants in our areas like Brandon's Jesse's that donated 100 fresh-cut New York strip steaks so Pine Island firefighters could finally get some hot meals. And the famous Terrance tumbler brand that got its start in Osprey, Florida, and later moved to Northport, which experienced major damage due to Hurricane Ian, rolled out its Together We Shine water bottle and tumbler design. It's an easy way that you can help those devastated by Hurricane Ian. All the proceeds from the Together We Shine water bottle and tumbler purchases will go to the Volunteer Florida Disaster Fund. First Lady Casey DeSantis is running a toy drive for children impacted by Hurricane Ian. The state is partnering with faith-based institutions and nonprofits. Impacted counties are collecting and delivering toys to state disaster recovery centers. All toys donated must be new and unwrapped. You can head to floridastormrelief.com for more information. The entire community, including our beloved sports teams like the Lightning and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, have been supporting and embracing the Florida Strong campaign to help with Hurricane Ian relief. And we are going to continue highlighting Florida Strong throughout our show today. But first, it's important to remember how Hurricane Ian made us all realize how precious life is. Joining us now is former Tampa Bay Buccaneer great and Lifeguard Imaging Vice President of Business Development, Martine Gramatica. Martine, it's great to see you.
Good to see you, Gayle. How are you?
Good, good. I didn't realize that you actually have ties to West Central Florida. You played a lot growing up in the Fort Myers area.
Yes, I grew up in La Belle, which is 30 miles east, and then played my whole youth soccer career at Fort Myers, Naples, all that North Fort Myers, Cape Coral, so that whole area, which is devastated now.
Devastated. And as a former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, it must make you so proud to see how the team has really stepped up to the plate monetarily to help these folks.
Yes, and then they started the Florida Strong and with the T-shirts and the support, and monetarily Tom Brady did as well, and the team did as well. So for me, it's an honor to be a part of the Buccaneers and to know that they're helping back where I grew up. It's amazing to be a part of that.
Yeah, and you know, it really does bring to light something that we talk about all the time about how precious life is and how it can change in just a moment. And that's what Lifeguard really stands for, is helping people get ahead of their health, and especially when it comes to heart disease.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have so many patients that come in feeling 100% that have no idea they have heart disease, and until you look inside, you just don't know. And that's where I would tell them, you know, come in, and we're one of 5 offices in the world that probably do this, in the country for sure, that are doing preventative scans. And we have patients coming from all over the world to come to our office because they understand the importance of preventative scans.
Yeah, it is remarkable that we have this right in our own backyard. And you know, there are so many famous sports figures who have lost their life, the epitome of health, and not even knowing. One in particular, Tony Sperano.
this is so sad because these are people that money's not an issue. They can afford to go see a doctor. They can afford it, and they have the best health care because they're professional athletes. They make sure the coaches and players are healthy because we're on the field performing. And Coach Sperano, he was our offensive line coach when I was in Dallas. So to me, to hear this story, it just breaks my heart because he went to the doctor. And they said, no, Coach Sperano, you're fine, everything's fine, you must have eaten something. That's why he felt like that indigestion kind of feeling. Goes home, this is on a Friday, Saturday has a normal day, Sunday he's getting ready to go to church and has a massive heart attack in the kitchen of his house.
Yeah.
And that's because they weren't looking inside. You know, EKG, stress tests, they're great markers, but they're not looking inside your heart. And that's just such a sad story because it could have been prevented.
Yeah, it doesn't give you that 3D imaging like LifeGuard imaging with that precise slicing when they're looking at the imaging. You're not missing anything with that scan. And, you know, it goes to a top radiologist who looks at it and can detect, you know, heart disease in its earliest stages. So you have a benchmark of where you should be starting and you know, how your health is progressing throughout life.
Our chief radiologist will spend up to 45 minutes per scan when it's a full body scan finding the deadliest diseases. That's what we're looking for. So he can find a shadow as small as a 2 millimeter shadow, which is incredible to see something that small. And just like you said, our low radiation, which that's what we have, but higher resolution because we have thin slices, not like the traditional CT scans that have the thicker slices to have less radiation. We have a software to reduce the radiation, and now we can have those thin slices where we really don't miss anything.
Yeah, real quick, I just thought of another athlete. Didn't Daryl Kyle die at a very young age in his 30s, right?
33-year-old, and this is another one of those stories that you just don't understand why it happened, especially being in the care of professionals and like I said, athletes. They take care of us better than anybody because our bodies are our tool. Their bodies are a machine that we need to perform with, so they make sure we're healthy. And his team was waiting for him. They didn't know where he was, and he had suffered a massive heart attack in the hotel room at 33 years old. So it's happening younger and younger as well. So 33 years old passes away with a massive heart attack. Being a professional athlete, that you have the best trainers, best doctors, everything to our access, and it's just sad to hear these stories.
Yeah, well, I tell you, my family, my husband and I are huge believers in LifeGuard imaging. In fact, we're coming in at the end of the month to get our second annual full body scan, and it truly is a lifesaver. So Martine, thank you so much for joining us on Bloom today.
No, thank you for having me. I'm due for my second scan too, which is crazy how fast time flies. But in November, I'll be doing my second scan as well. It's crazy.
I know. It feels like I blinked and it's time to go again. But it's a beautiful thing that we have this here right in our backyard. So if you want to take advantage of this, now's the time to pick up your phone and call 813-582-5222 or visit lifeguardimaging.com to receive a special Bloom offer, a free heart scan when you mention Gayle or Bloom. That's a $599 value, absolutely free. So pick up the phone, 813-582-5222 for this special offer. We'll be back with more Bloom right after this.
The preceding portion of Bloom was sponsored by LifeGuard Imaging.
You're watching Bloom, presented by LifeGuard Imaging, saving lives through early detection. Call now, 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Call the tax man. Ooh, call the tax man. Call the tax man.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call me right now. The IRS is the most relentless collection agency in America. They have the power to legally take everything you own. Home, paycheck, autos, any asset you have. So what do? Call me now. My team of experts can help you keep your money. We have programs that can significantly reduce or eliminate what you owe, even payment plans that now stretch out for months. We can also stop collection calls, wage garnishments, and remove tax liens. So if you owe the IRS a lot of money and you want to keep it, don't wait. Call the tax man right now.
Call the tax man. Ooh, call the tax man. Call the tax man.
Most of us typically think of loss of life and property destruction after major weather events like Hurricane Ian, but for many here in Florida, they lost the gift of sight. Joining us now with a powerful story about a transplant surgeon who lost everything after Ian. is the president and CEO of the Lion's Eye Institute for Transplant and Research. Jason, it's great to see you.
Thank you, Gayle. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I like to repeat this again and again because a lot of people don't realize that we have a real gem here in the back, right in our backyard here in Tampa Bay. The Lion's Eye Institute is headquartered in Tampa's historic Ybor City. It is the world's largest eye bank, and Hurricane Ian greatly impacted the efforts to give people the gift of sight. And I was super sorry to hear about a Lion's Eye Institute surgeon who lives down in Southwest Florida who lost everything, his home, his surgery center. Tell me about what happened.
Yeah, as far as Dr. Guyardo has been, decades-long surgeon in the Fort Myers area, actually renowned surgeon, nationwide and worldwide, probably provides the gift of sight to 300 people a year through corneal transplantation, lost his home of 32 years. There's pictures, I believe you'll show, that in some places he had 18 inches of water in his home. His employees obviously are stranded. It's really not just the storm, but it's all the peripheral impact you have as well, as far as with the storm and things of that nature, even the employees getting back to work.
Yeah, we're looking at the devastation of his home. I know the surgery center was destroyed as well. And this is a man that would do what, at least 300 transplants a year?
A year. That is far. So 300 people receive the gift of sight by his surgery. And of course, he does IOL surgery and different other surgeries, but just transplantation. And he was one of probably the leading surgeons in the country, based right here in Florida. And
that's just one of the stories of how people were impacted that may not receive the gift of life, and at least not as soon as they thought they would. Because Hurricane Ian really impacted the broad reach that you have.
Yeah. And while we figured that, as far as it really came in, obviously about Tuesday is when we started to prepare here in Tampa. We shut down and tried to reopen on Friday in an emergency situation. We are guessing 100 people did not get a transplant in 1 week based upon the storm. So those are those, and when will they be scheduled again? We're not sure, because obviously, do they have power, the ability to go to a surgery center? Are they still in Florida? So we don't even know the impact now that will carry on for us to catch up to get those that had this transplant, or those that have had a transplant that need post-op care, which is very valuable as well.
What about the viability of the tissue?
We actually, it's a handful, and I've been there for 3 decades. It's probably maybe less than a handful of times that we had to shut down, and we did. We actually had to shut down for 3 full days. Safety of our operations. Obviously, we were interlocated in an area in Tampa that was evacuation zone, so we actually had to evacuate our building as well. So we shut down, so there was no recovery whatsoever, just to make sure that everything we had would be used, but we would not procure. We have no idea how long the storm would last, and so we would hate to have tissue procured, not be able to provide it, the gift to someone.
All right, so let's talk so people understand how relevant it is to have the Lion's Eye Institute right here in the Tampa Bay area, and what they can do to support what you do, because people want to give. They want to help out during these times. And yes, the folks in Southwest Florida need so much, but you are providing the gift of sight to people, and that's been kind of derailed here.
Yeah, it has, and that as far as any way they, and I really even Lions, I think that people as Lions are, the Institute, is just know that the nonprofits in Florida need your help. There, we have been stressed more so than anything else because of inflation. There that most nonprofits do not have the ability to raise their fee for service, because our service is free. So in other ways that you can compete against, as far as inflation, is you have to cut cost, and that usually means staffing and things of that nature. So for all the nonprofits, it was when I say almost perfect storm. You saw inflation, many people are struggling, rent's high, things of that nature. On top of that, more people now need the services of nonprofits like ours more than ever.
Yeah, you don't think about that. And we're dedicating an entire show to how people can help. I do want to go back to the doctor that we talked about earlier in the show. He said right now that finding a rental or even buying is exhausting and frustrating, as thousands of people are homeless. And the reality that we lost our entire home of 32 years is life-altering. So here's a man who works hand in hand with the nonprofit, the Lion's Eye Institute, and he's lost everything. So you can't help him. It's a really almost like a ripple effect of what's happened to your nonprofit specifically.
We, that as far as, so his patients his employees can't get to work. that as far as they may not have electricity, as far as who's his employees, patients can't get there because they're in the same situation. Roads aren't safe. So it's really just, like I said, it is a ripple effect that impacts us all the way through. And we've been able to help others. Some have opened up. We have a lot of hospitals in that Fort Myers, Naples area that have the whole hospital's closed still. And so as far as, that they haven't been able to open up, there's been water damage. They've had to transfer patients out. It's not safe to move them back in yet. So for places that would have had transplants done or even donor recoveries for individuals that may have, become a donor there, that's not happening as well. So like you said, it's a good comment that it truly is a ripple effect.
In addition to monetary donations to raise money for nonprofits like yours, we always need to share this opportunity with folks that becoming a donor is incredibly important as well.
It is, and that's the number one way. I tell people that as far as financial contributions to our foundation is that we are in the high 90% of our every dollar goes to charity. We're extremely high, one of the highest in that area. Coupled with becoming a donor, it's something you can go online. If you have an Apple phone, it's already under the Health app. Every single Apple phone in the United States, as a commitment to Steve Jobs losing his life, waiting for a transplant. Every Apple phone, if you have an Apple, as far as Android's coming, but as far as all you do is go into the Health app, you can sign up to be a donor in less than 5 minutes, and within 1 minute you'll be in the registry.
Jason, thank you so much for coming in. I know you're a busy man, but we appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you for much, and thank you for your shows highlighting all those who have been impacted.
Absolutely. And for more information about the Lion's Eye, visit our website, wfla.com/bloom. And up next, if you also experience property destruction because of Hurricane Ian, stick around because an attorney gives us tips for managing major property damage right after this. We'll be right back. You're watching Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, saving lives through early detection. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today. Hurricane Ian is impacting people's financial health, especially those who experience major property damage. Joining us now to help you manage these difficult times is attorney Dave Pentinato. Dave, welcome to Bloom.
Thank you, Gayle.
So Dave, I know you specialize in this, and this is such a difficult time for folks. So there's so much going on, there's the emotional side of it, but at the end of the day, people want to rebuild their lives. So what is one of the first things that folks should do?
Well, if you have an insurance claim, even if you don't think you have an insurance claim, you need somebody to check the house and property. Late notice in Florida is a big defense that insurance companies could use. So you want to have somebody look at it, even if you think your house is fine. That way, because you'll have 2 years from the date of loss to be able to submit a claim. But the longer the time period is from the date of loss to the time in which you submit the claim, the insurance company may say they're not able to see the damages. So get somebody out there to inspect the property, timely notify your insurance company. Keep a diary of who you talk to, when you talk to them, what their names are, what their numbers are, what they said to you, and also mitigate your damages. You have an obligation under your policy to mitigate, which is try to lessen your damages. So if you have a hole in the roof caused by wind and you have water coming in from the elements, you got to put something over that so you don't have additional damages.
I'm so glad, because I didn't even think about this. I was just talking to somebody yesterday who said that a big tree fell, then the tree sparked a sprinkler. Her entire townhome was destroyed. And when she picked up the phone and she called the insurance company, of course she's hysterical. Her home is damaged, the drywall's damaged, and she was getting a lot of pushback and saying, and even like, well, we can at least replace the carpet. And she's like, the carpet? She's like, I'm going to be, inundated with mold here. And I don't know if she wrote down the name of the person that she was talking to because she was just so emotional that would be the pushback that she would get from her insurance company. So not just that person, but what should others do if they're dealing with that kind of pushback? Well,
it's not unusual. So here's what I would suggest to do is every time you talk to somebody on the phone, you make a note of what they're saying and you ask them to come out and do a reinspection of the property. Next is you put on your calendar and say, well, every 5 days, I'm going to call you or I'm going to write you for a follow-up. I need a follow-up. So do it always by email. If you make a call, follow up with an email. If you have a call, follow that up with an email saying, hey, Mrs. Smith, I just talked to you on the phone and you said this. And last is, if you get to a point where you think you can't get through the delay on the payment or that the payment doesn't seem to be coming timely, you can also hire a policy advocates. Policyholder advocate is either an attorney or an adjuster, public adjuster, that can assist you in adjusting your loss.
Yeah, it's a lot. And do you think, Dave, that a lot of people maybe don't realize just how much they're owed, or they don't understand the extent of their damage, and they try to become their own adjuster and their own attorney, and they think they've got it all figured out?
Well, here's a fallacy. Under Florida law, you're assumed to understand and have read your policy. I can tell you probably 99% of my clients have read a policy and don't understand it. You don't know the coverages that are available to you. The insurance company is not explaining the coverages or the monies that you could potentially ask for. So yeah, that's a big problem, being able to understand what you can ask for and what you should expect under your policy.
All right, so let's talk the future, because now a lot of people are really, really scared about, will they be able to be reinsured? And there was all this talk, if you were watching our coverage with our friends on the WFLA news side, there's fear that people won't have insurance after something as catastrophic as this, because we were already on such shaky grounds.
Well, let's take a look at something. COVID was a big help to have influx of people coming in the state of Florida. What happened is we have, I think by the end of 2022, we'll have 440 or 22 million new residents. These new residents are buying new houses, they're going into condos, they're 500 unit condos. So of course we're gonna have more claims. Of course we're gonna have more people. Our state with the people in it, we're third behind Texas and California. So of course we're gonna have higher numbers of claims and potential litigation. So, I think that the state needs, and the officials and the insurance industry needs to look at that and saying, with the amount of people coming in, of course we're gonna have a higher influx. Now I will say, making a claim, people are worried about not being able to get insurance or get renewed. That you should not worry about, because under the Florida law, you should not have your claim or policy non-renewed or canceled because of a claim. And if you do, then that's improper.
Okay, all right. Just to put this in scope for people, we have early estimates. It's going to cost $258 billion to rebuild. We're in this for the long haul, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that right now with the claims that have been submitted, I heard as of yesterday about $1.6 billion in claims. This is probably one of the most extensive, far-reaching hurricane, almost a Cat 5. I think they're going to classify it as a Cat 5. So we're talking about claims for the next 2 years that are going to be rolling in off of this. So I think that just if they do timely notify the carriers of the claims, I think that the state and the insurance companies will be able to adjust and handle it. They're supposed to handle this type of catastrophe.
Dave, I know you're a busy attorney. I know you switched a lot around to be able to come in and to share all this information with our viewers, so we certainly really appreciate you joining us on Bloom today.
My pleasure to come in, and I hope all the policyholders, you get what's owed to you under your policy.
All right, thanks, Dave. And I'll connect you with Dave Pettinato on our website. And stick around. We're going to be back with more of Bloom right after this.
Have you ever felt leg pain, restlessness, cramps, tingling, swelling, numbness, itchiness, or coldness? Then you need the new, clinically proven Legzercise Pro, the natural circulation booster that uses continuous automatic leg movement to soothe pain and promote healthy circulation the natural drug-free way.
After using Legzercise for a week, I felt like I wanted to go for a walk again without pain like I used to.
Legzercise Pro's patented walking simulator propulsion technology moves your feet back and forth along its concave track, creating constant movement and flex at both the knee and ankle joints. It's like having a physical therapist right in your own home.
It's helped with the swelling and the pain. The tingling feeling is gone.
Call right now and order your very own Legzercise Pro, the clinically proven automatic leg mover that soothes pain and naturally promotes healthy circulation. Call now.
Welcome back to Bloom. It is incredible the number of people who stopped everything to help after Hurricane Ian hit West Central Florida, including our next guest, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine, Dr. Emily Duvall. Dr. Duvall, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you have ties to Southwest Florida as well.
I do. I have been going to Southwest Florida my entire life. Sanibel Beach is like the first beach I ever remember playing on, and I had cousins and aunts and uncles that we would visit frequently in Naples until my family loved it so much that they bought a home there in the late 90s.
So you started your career in emergency rooms as a doctor there. So when something catastrophic like this happens, and you had this tie to Soul Relief, which is headquartered at St. Petersburg's Albert Whitted Airport, it's an incredible nonprofit that flies volunteer pilots, go to and from disaster areas. You jumped on one of those planes. Tell me about the experience.
Absolutely. I was connected to Soul.
And you
through a close friend, and they reached out to me right after the hurricane hit and asked if I would be willing to help because first responders were needing support.
So when you got down there, what exactly were you able to do? And what the scene, which many of us have only seen through, images brought to us through our news programming, but it must have just been devastating.
It was absolutely devastating, especially because I know the area so well, and it was completely unrecognizable.
How were you able to step in and help people?
Well, we were transported to Pine Island once we flew in. And Pine Island was where FEMA is set up. Once we got to Pine Island, we were transported to the head of FEMA, Dr. Abbo, who requested that we actually donate our supplies so he could treat incoming survivors.
Okay, so it almost turned into like a triage center for people who needed help. What are some of the things that people were experiencing? I would imagine just the stress of it could cause
heat exhaustion, dehydration, a lot of wound issues, and lack of medication.
So talk to me about your life in an emergency room back in the day and how the two kind of correlate when you are asked to serve in an emergency case.
Well, it's just unpredictable. It's a completely unpredictable environment, and you kind of have to just go with the flow and help where you can and be willing to do whatever it takes to make sure people are taken care of.
I know that you pivoted, and October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I know you pivoted in life from going from the emergency room more into the wellness space after you yourself were diagnosed with breast cancer. How did it feel to put back on your old ER hat?
It felt good. It felt like where I was supposed to be. It was nice to be able to jump in and get my hands a little dirty.
And now the wellness space that you're in now, I mean, that sounds very exciting as well, kind of a pivot from the days of probably, it was very hectic. I can't imagine what that must be like in an ER.
Absolutely. So I recently started the Wellness Club inside Kodawara Yoga Studio in South Tampa, and we provide anti-aging medicine as well as sexual wellness, IV therapy, personalized peptide and hormone replacement therapy, as well as other anti-aging services.
Well, we're going to definitely have to have you come back on Bloom as an industry expert on that, but we do appreciate your time and energy and your willingness to drop everything to go help the folks devastated in Southwest Florida. Thank you so much, Doctor.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And for more information about Dr. Duvall and Soul Relief efforts, just head to WFLA.com/Bloom. And coming up next, not only was there a need for emergency medical support when Ian hit, Feeding Tampa Bay responded to the hunger crisis. We'll tell you about that up next. You're watching Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging. We begin where your checkup ends. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today. Welcome back to Bloom. Food insecurity is already a major issue nationwide and for people living in Southwest Florida. It only got worse after Hurricane Ian hit. So now Feeding Tampa Bay is joining forces with sister food banks to help during this crisis. Joining us now from Feeding Tampa Bay is Matt Spence. Matt, it's great to see you.
Good to see you too, Gayle. Thanks for having us on.
Absolutely. So Matt, when things happen like this, I bet you a lot of people don't realize that Feeding Tampa Bay jumps in early and preparation starts immediately. How does the operation get ready?
Yeah, we would consider ourselves first responders. And in fact, we don't even start getting ready. We're always ready. You know, we spend the entire year partnering with other agencies, getting prepared for a storm. When it's coming, we start to, you know, kind of step it up and then do some other activities like pre-positioning water, meals that are ready to eat that don't need power to be cooked. And we start talking with our other food banks around the state and around the country to make sure we have all the supplies we need to support the victims.
So with Ian specifically, what happened? I mean, it looks like it was complete boots on the ground when it comes to getting people food to sustain themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for a little while there, we thought we were going to be the ones needing the help. And so we were already in conversation with Feeding Florida, all the other food banks in the state, Feeding America, food banks from all over the country who were sending supplies and support. In fact, there are staff members from both our team and from Feeding Houston and other food banks that are down in Southwest Florida right now assisting Harry Chapin Food Bank. So, you know, we were setting everything up and getting ready for the storm, and then we could immediately shift down south to get the supplies there.
So with food insecurity already a major issue across the country, here in the Tampa Bay area, what happens to folks when they're actually in an emergency situation and their lives have just been devastated by a natural disaster?
Yeah, I think I would say two things about that. You know, first of all, almost half of Floridians are pretty close to a place of need, living on just the thinnest of margins in good times. And so, you know, losing $200 or $300 of food in a power outage or in a storm, you know, really puts you behind the eight ball and the need to lean on the food relief system. And then beyond that, if you don't have access to power, you need prepared meals. You need all sorts of different assistance. And Feeding Tampa Bay works with our food bank partners to make sure all of that gets to the site as quickly as possible.
And that connectivity also, to your point, happens year-round. I know your president and CEO, Thomas Mance, is right now with other food banks from across the country, figuring out how to get people the nutritious meals that they need and creative ways to, you know, help people stretch those dollars.
Yeah, food insecurity is a healthcare crisis, first and foremost. You know, it takes a high-quality, nutritious meal to stay healthy, and food banks around the country more and more are getting into that area of work. We're partnering with great hospitals and other community leaders in the healthcare space to make sure that we're getting out in front of the issues. We're providing nutritious food, not just getting calories in front of folks.
We're doing this special today on Bloom because people are anxious to help and to make a difference and do what they can. What can we do as a community to help you?
So, you know, at any time we're in need of volunteers and support, obviously, but we have a really fun event coming up October 25th over at Armature Works. It's called Empty Bowls, and the idea is that we're celebrating the community, bringing everyone together to talk about hunger, to talk about how you can jump in and support Feeding Tampa Bay. So 4 o'clock on the 25th, come over to Armature Works. We'll have lots of great art installations, live musics, and you know, all sorts of good information about what's going on.
And it is kind of cool to see your operation, because I've been behind the scenes at Feeding Tampa Bay, and I mean, the 18-wheelers that pull up, you know, the food that is being organized and distributed, the places that people can go, to your point, to get fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and to watch how you roll those resources out into the community. It's like a well-oiled machine.
It is. We have a great team. You know, a lot of people don't realize what it takes to get 95 million meals out into the community. We have a fleet of 60+ trucks. We have 100,000 square feet of warehouse space, and it is constantly buzzing, as you know.
Well, I have to tell you, it's remarkable what you do, and we can't thank you enough from the bottom of our hearts for all that you've done to help the folks down in Southwest Florida.
Thank you, Gayle, and to the team at WFLA. You guys have been fantastic supporters, so we appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for more information about Feeding Tampa Bay, just head to our website, WFLA.com/Bloom. And coming up next, we'll find out about efforts helping pets who were displaced because of Hurricane Ian. We'll be right back.
Do you listen to the TV on high volume or have trouble hearing conversations? Then you would benefit from hearing aids. Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get Nano's revolutionary technology just $347. Don't be fooled by higher-priced hearing aids. The CIC Recharge is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. with rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. Call now and get not one, but 2 Nano hearing aids for just $347. Plus, we'll add a portable charging dock and ship your order absolutely free. The CIC Recharge has a tiny in-the-ear canal design that is nearly invisible. Why keep missing out on important conversations or waste thousands of dollars? Call and get 2 CIC Recharge hearing aids for only $347 and free shipping. Call now.
800-854-2435. Again, that's 800-854-2435.
Welcome back to Bloom. The stories about displaced pets roaming helplessly around West Central Florida after Hurricane Ian were just heartbreaking. But shelters nationwide are stepping up and helping these sweet animals, and that of course includes the Humane Society of Tampa Bay. Joining us now is Danielle Ho, the Director of Operations, and Clint, one of the dogs unfortunately displaced during Hurricane Ian. Thank you so much for joining us and bringing Clint along.
Of course, thank you for having us.
Yeah, and Clint is just one story of the animals that were displaced. Either their owners had to give them up because they have nowhere to live. The dogs, you know, some dogs just were found wandering around. Animals were wandering around. What kind of impact did this hurricane have on pets?
It's been catastrophic, I would say. There's so many shelters across Florida that were devastated, flooded, had major damage. They could no longer house animals. Dogs like Clint, he came from a very small shelter, Bowling Green Animal Control in Hardee County, and they were flooded. So we took in him along with 19 other animals from that shelter.
Yeah, one of our producers here, Sarah, her family went to get one of these dogs. They saw how the shelters are just overflowing with animals. And so the accommodations and the need now for foster parents and for people who are looking for a dog must be bigger than ever.
It is. Immediately after the hurricane passed, we were beyond capacity at our shelter here in Tampa. So we definitely had to put out a plea to our community to come and adopt. Now's the time.
And were you waiving adoption fees? Because I did hear there were times where, you know, the Humane Society was so passionate about getting these animals into loving homes that, you know, all the paperwork out the window really, and just getting these dogs into loving environments.
So our biggest need were large dogs, just like Clint. They take up more space in a shelter. So last week we were doing an adoption special where we were waiving the adoption fees for large dogs, and it helped. Tampa stepped up and came out and adopted dogs in droves.
They did?
They did.
Okay, so what is the situation like now? And I'm glad that Clint here is getting so relaxed in our studio.
Yes,
he is such a good dog.
I think he wants to live here.
Yeah, I think you're right. And he's up for adoption as well.
He is. So the situation is still, I don't want to say dire, but there is still a great need all across Florida. Shelters all over Florida are at capacity and need people to come and adopt. And Clint is looking for his home.
And what's Clint's backstory?
So again, he was evacuated after Hurricane Ian. He is an 8-year-old Terrier Hound mix, and he's just chill. He loves everybody, he loves attention, but look at him. He's just super chill and wants to just relax.
Yeah, and a lot of these dogs, they come trained. They had owners that absolutely loved them, and we were all talking about it. We have a meeting before every show, and we were thinking how horrible that must feel if you had to surrender your animal or lost your animal. I mean, I can't even imagine what families are going through.
I can't either, and you know, we're fortunate because a lot of us don't have or never faced with that decision. But I just caution people to just reserve judgment, because some people, they have to surrender their pets because that's the last resort. It's either their family or their pets, and it's excruciating, the decision that people are forced to make.
Well, yeah, because we just heard from one of our guests that, you know, thousands of people are scrambling to find rental homes, and a lot of these homes don't allow pets.
Correct.
You know, so it's not like they can't even take their animal. You know, of course they want to, but their hands are tied.
Correct.
Okay, so what about animals that maybe were lost that are chipped? Are there efforts to try to match animals back to their original owners?
Yes, so if an animal has a microchip and the information attached to that microchip is up to date, any shelter or veterinary clinic can scan that chip and try to retrieve the owner's information. So I would just remind people, if you have your pet's microchip, make sure your contact information is kept up to date. If they're not microchipped, definitely go and get a microchip as soon as possible.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming on Bloom today and bringing Clint along. I hope we find this guy a good home. He is chill, he is cool and friendly.
He's a great dog.
He would make a great pet for someone out there. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Gail.
All right, and for more information, head to WFLA.com/Bloom and stay with us. Coming up next, we'll find out about Metropolitan Ministries' efforts to help the homeless with hurricane relief. Bloom will be right back. Welcome back to Bloom. As we continue our focus on Hurricane Ian relief, Tampa Bay is one caring community. Joining us now to tell us more about Hurricane Ian response and ongoing needs, especially with the homeless, is Tim Marks, the president and CEO of Metropolitan Ministries. So great to see you.
Thank you for having me here. We appreciate. We always say nothing good happens at Metropolitan Ministries without the community's support. And you've been a vital part of our community and engaging the community to help us throughout the years.
Yeah, and you know, you were one of the first places I thought to pick up the phone because, you know, Bloom, of course, was not here. It was all hands on deck with our incredible news team and our meteorologists trying to, you know, keep the viewers informed. But when we came back to the office on that Monday in early October, I said, let me see what's going on at Metropolitan Ministries. And boy, you guys were buzzing because you thought the hurricane was going to hit here, but quickly pivoted to bring some of the first food. And the images that we got of your volunteers busy at work was incredible. So tell me what happened.
So we have this amazing kitchen that we have put together with the leadership of the founders of Outback, you know, Bob Basham and Chris Sullivan and Tim Gannon. Many, many years put together this beautiful kitchen, and we've been stewards of that. Their vision was always to have a kitchen that could provide 10,000 meals a day. And that vision became a realization during the Hurricane Ian, and that is because our partnership with World Central Kitchen. This is a global relief agency that has been in the Ukraine, Puerto Rico. Half the chefs that came to us came from Puerto Rico, the other half came from the Bahamas, where they were doing hurricane relief. Here they show up at your front door saying, we're here to help you, and that made it very real for us. We've got to mobilize. They brought in about 6 semis worth of food, and we were preparing the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before the storm, and then we started to see it turn south. And we started making meals, putting it in these safe serve Cambros, and we started trucking and shipping the food right out of the Metropolitan Ministries kitchen down to Pine Island, to Sanibel. And once the freeway flooded, we had to pivot, and that's with World Central Kitchen's leadership. They were able to procure a helicopter and a fixed-wing plane. We were going down to Davis Island, shipping food, getting food down. Those very first sandwiches and food items came out of our kitchen, and without volunteers from this great community and without World Central Kitchen, it wouldn't have happened.
And you see this as the president and CEO, and I know you were there yourself. I mean, you don't sit in an ivory tower. You're always boots on the ground as well. You're there with the volunteers. You're there with your workers. You're always on hand. Isn't it incredible how people are able to come together during these times of need?
Yeah, and I think that that's what's beautiful about this Tampa Bay community. Many of us have come from different communities, and what better way to connect with your community than giving back? And so as we get ready for the holidays, we know that the holiday tent brings people together. A crisis, you know, there are these different storms in life. There's the economic storms that we experience with recession. There was this storm called COVID that we had to find a way to respond. And now we have this physical storm. And I do believe that we are stronger when we come together. And I've seen that over and over again at Tampa Bay. That Friday after the storm, we had 220 volunteers on our campus that day, giving back, wanting to make a difference, and we're continuing to engage volunteers each and every day.
Yeah, I know my church is really passionate about Metropolitan Ministries, and my family and I have gone out there to work the holiday tent over the years, and it is amazing how you know, like it too is another well-oiled machine of a charity in this town. Real quickly, we don't have much time left, but will you also be helping with those who are homeless, or did you mostly respond with the food?
So yeah, this is the other crisis, right? The affordable housing crisis, rental crisis. We expect another surge, a surge of homelessness, people that were instantly become homeless. We have a motel voucher program. We went through a month's worth of vouchers in 1 week, stabilizing families. I have a family that was relocating to Fort Myers, and during their relocation, they lost their home. And so they're here in Tampa. We're stabilizing that family, and we're working on a plan. We do expect more and more families to come to us. The hotels are filling up, and the rental properties as well. It's going to be another challenge for many families.
Tim, thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate you, and thanks to Metropolitan Ministries.
Thank you again for all your support.
All right, and for more information about Met Ministries, just head to wfla.com/Bloom. And before we go to break, it's time for today's Bloom trivia question. What is the combined cost of the 310 natural disasters recorded between 1980 and 2021? 100 million, 1 billion, or more than 2 trillion? We'll be back with the answer.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Diabetics understand all too well the pain of pricking your fingers. But now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can immediately reduce your pain. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 4 or more times daily, injecting insulin 3 or more times daily, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-658-8457.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Call the tax man. Ooh, call the tax man. Call the tax man.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call me right now. The IRS is the most relentless collection agency in America. They have the power to legally take everything you own. Home, paycheck, autos, any asset you have. So what do? Call me now. My team of experts can help you keep your money. We have programs that can significantly reduce or eliminate what you owe, even payment plans that now stretch out for months. We can also stop collection calls, wage garnishments, and remove tax liens. So if you owe the IRS a lot of money and you want to keep it, don't wait. Call the tax man right now.
Call the tax man. Ooh, call the tax man. Call the tax man.
It's time for Bloom's Survey Says. Today's trivia question was, what is the combined cost of the 310 natural disasters recorded between 1980 and 2021? 100 million, 1 billion, or 2 trillion? According to NOAA, the total approximate cost of damages from weather and climate disasters in the U.S. between 1980 and 2021 is $2.15 trillion. Data from U.S. government agencies has proven that natural disasters are becoming more prevalent and storm-related property damage costs are increasing. Thank you so much for tuning into Bloom today. Don't forget to follow Bloom on social media. We're on all major platforms, so you can DM us with your story ideas, and we'll try to get them on the show. And we hope you'll tune in again on the next Bloom presented by Lifeguard Imaging. We're focusing on World Menopause Day with everything you need to know, from nutrition to sleep and even skincare, to navigate through this challenging time of life. So stay healthy, and we'll see you on the next Bloom. Family Feud with Steve Harvey is next. Call now 813-582-5222 to schedule your scan today.